So for this practice, we're going to create a web page and we're going to look at configuring some audio on that web page. We're going to have a H1 element and an MP3 link and a hyperlink to the transcript of our file. And that hyperlink is good for accessibility. So web page users can access that if they need to read what it is. So I'm going to create a Chapter 11 folder. And this is going to be 11.1. And into that folder, we're going to go to our Chapter 11 Starters folder. And we want to get the podcast MP3 and podcast text file. So here's the MP3 and the text file. We're going to copy those over here. We're going to go to our data files in Chapter 1 and open up our template. Actually, nope, I don't want to open it yet. I want to copy that over here. And now I want to open it from here. There we go. Okay, so here's our template file. Now let's get started with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a web page that has the title of podcast. So we're going to go up here to page title. We're going to call this podcast. We want it to have an H1 element with the text web design podcast. So in here in our body, H1 web design podcast. And now we're going to create a hyperlink to the MP3 file and a hyperlink to the text transcript. Now I'm going to put both of these into a div tag just so that they're separate. And this is going to be my href equals, and let's see, the name is podcast.mp3, so we're going to call it podcast.mp3. Title equals web design podcast. Do my ampersand. Episode 1 podcast, because this is what I want them to click on. We're telling them that it's an MP3. Close out the div. Now I'm going to do another div, and actually let me bring this closed just visually for me. And on this one we're going to link to the transcript. So href equals, let's see what it's, so it just is podcast.txt. So we're going to call it podcast.txt for text file. And I don't need to put anything there because we're going to say podcast transcript. Close that div out. So now if I save this as podcast.html, I can run it, launch in Chrome. So here's my web design podcast. If I click on it, that's loud. I don't know if it was as loud for you guys, but it was loud. So let's turn that down a little bit. So it plays the audio. If we click on this podcast transcript, it gives us the transcript of the audio file.